Let's talk about one of the most important stats in Fire Emblem Engage, and that is build. So what is build, and what does it do? So build is essentially your character's physique. Now, it has nothing to do with strength, necessarily, but it influences how effectively strong your character is to be able to physically wield weapons. And it interacts with another stat that's on certain weapons called weight. So as you can see here, each weapon has different weight. And the way it works, it's actually very simple. If you are wielding a weapon whose weight is higher than your build, it will reduce your speed by the difference. So if I have Tamara here, I think she actually says that. So Tamara here has 15 build. She has a build increase from the Sigurd ring. She has build increase from a personal skill that you get from Leif. And she has weapons whose weight has been modified to some degree. She also just has a straight up 15 build. So if we go to her items, you can see here that she can perfectly wield this Brave Lance +4, so that does not slow her down at all, so it does not impact her speed. Now, it is true that heavier weapons slow you down, but lighter weapons do not speed you up. So if you wield a weapon who has low weight, in this case the Steel Lance +5, whose weight is 7, she will not see an increase in speed. Weight only works against you, it never helps you. So weight is just this thing that interacts with build that can either reduce speed or not, and that's it. So now that you know that, we can also look at other weapons and get a feel for what's actually going on in relation to speed. So if we look at Bolaganon here, so it has a weight of 9. If we go to Anna, she has a current build of 3. So that means that she loses 3 speed. And if we go and equip Elwind, which has a weight of 6, she gains her speed back because she has a build of 6. So she can wield this without losing speed. And if she wields this, she will lose a little bit of speed. And same is true for Thunder. It actually has high weight. So certain weapons have higher weights than others. Longbows, for example, have higher weight than other bows. Axes have the highest weight on average. Spears have medium weight. Swords have lower weight. And daggers tend to have very low weight. So if we go to a dagger unit like Marin, so she actually has a build of 9. And one of her best weapons is Silver Dagger. And Silver Dagger is pretty light. It has a weight of 7. Its damage to weight ratio is actually very good. And as you upgrade silver and steel weapons, they lose weight per certain breakpoints in the upgrades. I believe the most weight they can lose is 2. So you can take a Silver Dagger and get it to, I think, either 5 or 6 total weight. Which, if you have a unit who has low build, now they can hit a little bit faster, maybe double more frequently. But other weapons, some of the weapons I don't care for, like Armor Slayer, Rider's Bane, Worm Slayer. These weapons are good, but they tend to have high weight. So if your unit doesn't have the build for those weapons, like the literal build stat, not like an actual build, like the set of mechanics to produce some kind of effect on a unit, if you don't have the build stat for them, you're not going to be doing much with them. And then on the other end of things, if your unit's slow, so Jade comes to mind as a slow unit, she's very low speed. I've been able to push her speed up by reclassing her on Griffin Knight, and I'm trying to level her up to see if I can make it so that she's like a reliable flyer. But her build is definitely higher on armor classes, but when you switch her to Griffin, she loses that. So build has to do with the unit, it has to do with the class you're on. Some units have build increase, especially on fixed growth mode. You can guarantee so many build levels per 10 levels, 20 levels, and so on. So if you have 5% build growth total, every 20 levels on fixed mode, you would get an extra build. If you have 10% build growth on fixed mode, every 10 levels, you get +1 build. So this helps offset weapon weights. Leaf also allows you to use heavier weapons. And then if you also equip build +3, build +4, you can offset heavy weapons. So right now, this Jade can reliably wield most of her axes without downside. The Brave Axe is still too heavy for her, but she can wield the Silver Axe at 14 build, and the Tomahawk reduces her speed by 2. So this is hugely useful to know. And also note that a lot of engravings that increase damage tend to increase weight, and ones that decrease weight decrease damage. So damage and weight are directly correlated on most weapons, and also most weapons' ability to deal high damage and to double factors in. So axe units tend to be some of the worst doublers in the game because axes are very heavy, so you have to really do something to either get the build up, get the weight down, get the units high speed, because you need build, speed, and strength to effectively use weapons, right? And axes have some of the highest demand on weight in order to double. So you might have noticed that axes almost never double in this game unless you go really out of your way, like really far out of your way, to min-max some very specific build where you reduce the axe weight and get an axe unit on really high speed, and in which case they can start doubling. But if you don't do that, then axes will almost never double. And weapons that consistently double in relation to axes tend to be all the lighter weapons. Spears can easily consistently double, swords can easily consistently double, daggers, some tomes, obviously the fist weapons because they're pretty low in weight usually. So we can look at some of these. So weight of 5. And the higher you go up in tier, from like slim to iron to steel to silver to brave, you increase in weight. So brave is like one of the heaviest. Utility things like slayers, banes, those are heavy. Spear is very heavy. Tomahawk is very heavy. Steel sword is lighter than silver sword, which is lighter than brave sword. And then obviously swords are lighter than axes, and spears are lighter than axes. Pretty much everything's, like, axes are the heaviest. So, yeah. Some bows are heavy too. Like, you'd be surprised. Silver bow is 10 weight, so, it's a pretty heavy bow. Radiant bow is also heavy, longbow. So interestingly, longbow and silver bow share the same weight. But if you upgrade silver bow, I think you get it to 8 weight at +5, so that's pretty decent. So if we go to Allcrest, let's check him out. So he actually has 8 builds. So if we get his silver bow down to +5, it'll be down to his build, and then he can use it without it reducing his speed by 2. So that's pretty useful. That's pretty nice. He seems pretty happy about it. You can tell. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. I just wanted to talk about weight and speed, build, all these things, how they interact. And yeah, definitely drop a comment. Let me know what you think. And feel free to subscribe, like and subscribe the video. That always helps. I'll see you next time.